these kind of things, this whole process, I believe you all don't, probably, because when I ask, a friend, what do you think a book editor do? Most of the answer is what you answer, dealing with the mistyping. But no, we're doing many things. And this is managing the whole process in publishing a book. And our target is not only a book in a month, but probably 2 or 3. Can you imagine what we're doing in a year? So we're really busy. Then what we do when we're reviewing manuscript. So when a writer, sends his or her manuscript to the publishers, the manuscript will be reviewed by the assigned editor. So the editor would see the manuscript is well written or not, and then so if it is well written, so we will read like 1 or 2 pages, or probably more when we are interested in it, and then see closely about the theme, the storyline, etc. And then looking at the writer's social media account, because it's one of our, if the writer have a social media account with a most follower, probably it's why we're taking for granted of that. And then if the manuscript is okay according to the reviewer, it will proceed to the next process. If not, it will be rejected. Anyway, if anyone have questions, probably the next sessions will be question sessions, right? So I will continue this first. What we do when review manuscript. The manuscript is signed by the superintendent to the reviewer. And then if it's not good, it will be rejected. If it's good, then what will the manuscript go? The manuscript will be, the editor will be fill the form of the review form. We will fill it by the, what's the good in this manuscript. So the superintendent and the manager will see if they agree to publish the manuscript, then the form will be signed and we will process to the next process. We will notify the writer, allow the terms and conditions, and if we both agree, the contract will be made. And then the manuscript will be put into the manuscript bank, waiting to be put into the schedule. So it will not directly being editing or something. No, sometimes the writer will have to wait, sometimes for the manuscript to be put into the schedule. And then if the superintendent or the manager decide not to publish the manuscript, so it will also be rejected. And as I work at the Compass Gramedia, one of the Compass Gramedia's publisher, we have a, when you want to send the manuscript, we have a platform, dps.gramedia.com. You can send directly to that. Now, after the manuscript being reviewed, and then we now process, we're going to the process of editing. What we do when editing manuscript? So there are 2 manuscripts, right? Local manuscript and then translated manuscript. Actually, basically, it's the same. You start to edit and then check the illustrations. What we do when doing the editing, the style house, and then the query, and then the illustrations, because when we do the translated manuscripts, some of the illustrations not proper in Indonesia, so we have to request a removal of illustrations to the foreign publisher to be removed from the manuscript. Also, we're doing determining the title. Sometimes we discuss with the writer, and for the translated manuscript, the editor, sometimes discuss within themselves which title that would attract readers. And then also we determine the specifications of the book, for example, the size, and then the paper, the font of the font size, and etc. Because it affects the price of the book. Also, we're dealing the copyright and approval. We have to see the year of the book printed for the translation manuscript. Also, we have to have the manuscript approved first before proceed to the printed process. And I will continue. Basically, this is the process of the publishing the book. When manuscript reviewed, and then it's okay, contract and dealing process, and then first editing. Also illustration. And then after the first editing is done, the next process is setting or first layouting. After the setting and first layouting finished, we move to the second editing. The first editor and the second editor have to be different because we're trying to see from the different point of view, but the second editor only looking for the typos, etc., not changing or adding the manuscript. Only the for the mistranslation or something like that. And then if there are revisions, so there should be a second layouting. After it finished, there should be a recheck by the editor and the designer. The editor doing the text and the designer doing the illustrations. And then we're going to approval. And we have a product knowledge. We have to present this book into the redactional, all the stuff. And also to the product specialist or the team that related are working with us. And then of all things is done, we're going to the printed process. Actually, usually this process is really long time, like 3 or 4 months. So as you see, I have written in a website. Before the editing, there should be a translation for the translation manuscript, and then the illustration for the local manuscripts. And the illustration itself, we selected the illustrator, and then we set the time where the illustration should finish, for example, 3 or 4 months, but sometimes it's more than that. And then the specification of the book, calculating the estimated price, the approval, the promotion plan, social media content, publishing schedule, and team and individual target. The team and individual target, actually we have target that assigned to us in a year. And those targets divided into the individual target. So as I said before, an editor will be handling like more than one, probably 2 or 3 or more. And then, so can you imagine this whole process repeated not only in one book, but 3 books continuously. So yeah, it's really a long time, takes time, and it's really busy. Our job is not only finished after the book is printed, but we have to do and to maintain how the book is promoted. And sometimes you have to make the social media content from the book. because I think the editor nowadays, it has to do more than only just editing a book, but you have to do many things, and it's a way to survive nowadays, isn't it? So this is for me. Actually, it's not much, but I want to having more discussions regarding my presentation. So if you want to ask, please ask.
Okay, guys. We right now it's still 7:16, yeah. But we will have Q&A session, but it will start at 8 p.m. So while waiting on 8 p.m., do you mind, Miss Dian, to share your experiences when you be a book editor? Yeah, aside from this plot, from this, yeah, this
So
that written on the slide.
why I decided to be a book editor?
Yes.
Actually,
Your experiences.
I'm sorry. Actually, I don't know why I becomes a book editor. But somehow because I like to read, and then I was thinking, what will I do with this? Because my future, what I want to do, and then suddenly I got the job to be an editor. I accepted in this publisher, and it's fine actually. If you really into reading, and then into what liking this kind of things, this is actually fun to do. You're paid, and because you love to read, it's like it's a blast for me actually. Being a book editor itself, probably not many people can do, because you have to have a sense and feelings when you're editing manuscript, and it's getting harder when you're actually not really into the genre. For example, I don't really into romance, but when I get a romance novel, I have to, put myself into it. Regardless, I don't really like the genre. So I learned a lot, actually. So when I have 8 year experience. I've been a book editor for 8 years now. So when you have this experience, these years, when you seeing a review manuscript, you can tell, okay, this is not really well written, or you wonder about it's just not things we are looking for, and etc. It's like this job requires you to really like words, reading, and literature. But I have a friend, my colleague. She's from biology. So I think regardless what your have a background, it's not a different backgrounds, not from literature. It's okay. Oh, I'm sorry for the thunder. It was quite
Weather problems.
chilly. Yeah, it's like force major, so I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Anyways, anyone to discuss anything?
Maybe before we have Q&A or discussion, do you mind to share your genre of books that you edit for on your work? Maybe the child book or novel or
Ah,
anything. Do you mind to share it maybe by the picture, replacing the slide?
uh, I I haven't prepared, but actually, I've edited uh, children books, novels, and comic books. And I am now the person in charge of the comic or edit comic. So I'm mostly dealing with the comic or edit comics. Also, but I think I never got a chance to edit a nonfiction. I haven't been put into the nonfiction team. Uh, but if you see or heard Keluarga Superirit in Gramedia, it's one of my works. Uh, Also, what else? Plants vs Zombies, the comic. What else? Uh, the novel. I've not. Is it novel nowadays? Yeah, yeah. So, I'm dealing with the edu comics, the educational comic. It's not a like Japanese comic, no. Mostly from the Korea. It's for children. So I don't think that you guys knows about about it. I wish I can give you the cover or something, but I didn't prepare for that. And so, anything else?
Okay, maybe we can have the Q&A session right now, yeah, because yeah, we have still a lot of time.
Yeah.
But for the first session of Q&A, I will open for 5 questions. 5 questions. You can just say, well, you can raise hand or type it on the chat box.
Mm.
Okay, Alivia Wibowo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. Do you mind to answer first, Miss Dian from Alivia Wibowo?
What? I cannot see the chat. Can you?
Okay, I read it for you.
Okay.
My name is Alivia. I want to
Mm-hmm.
ask something. First of all, I'm sorry because my mic is not working. My questions
Mm-hmm.
are, if in the future we want to be an editor at a publishing house, for example, Gramedia, how do we start? What things do you suggest we do as a starter before we apply to be an editor? For example, develop a portfolio, seek internship, opportunities, etc. And do you have any tips for anyone who wants to start working as a book editor?
Mm. Okay. Um. Actually, um, I joined these publishers. Uh, the process is really long because I applied like 3 or 4 times, and after many applied, I finally got the job. What you have to prepare is read a lot, and then you know gain yourself a portfolio. For example, doing a freelance first, I guess, or you can start to write things, and learning about the how to write well and how to notice mistakes writing. um, if your background from the literature, it will be good. But if not, it doesn't matter because you can learn. Also, if you have a a language like English or Korean or Mandarin, it's a plus because we edit like many foreign language, not only in English but also in Korean and in Mandarin. So when they got them translated, when you edit the translation, but we have to compare and you have to know whether this translation is good or the translator have a right term for the translated words, for example, like that. I think if you have skills in that this language is a plus. Yeah, I think that um, in Compass Gramedia itself, I think it's a you have to have skills and you have to have a great portfolio. But I think it's also your luck. It's honestly, it's hard. It's I have to admit that it's hard to get into the Compass Media uh, because even if you have already joined the publisher, the company, you have like a first year contract, second year contract, and the hardest part is when you are, you know, uh, being a contract again or um, you're accepted being a employee there. So if you are really want to be a book editor, I suggest that you have to read a lot and a lot of genre, comic, novels, non-fictions, and you have to see the difference. And I have to note that each publishers have different style, so it probably would be different with other companies. Even the sister companies of my companies, it will be different. But the basic that you have to be able to have is, you know, you have to have a sense and can notice a mistake. You have to be able to see a good manuscript or not. This is solemn or not. This is a good manuscript or not, and this is well written or not. You have to have a sense of that. Is that answer your questions?
Okay, does it answer properly? Uh,
I think I have
the
to stop.
question from Olivia, does it answer properly?
I see.
Okay, and then questions from Nada Salsabila.
Have you?
From Nada.
Okay, I think I can.
You can read.
I can read the questions.
Okay.
Have you ever think to publish your own book? Actually, I have. Uh, Probably I have, draft one or two, but because I have, really busy in doing my work, so and um, when you are a book editor, I think it makes you a little bit perfectionist about what you've written. It has to be like perfect and something like that. So I have to like rewritten again my manuscript. So, but I haven't thought of publish it like this year or next year. I don't know. But yes, I have think to publish my own book. So the next questions: how much boredom the process of editing? Boredom. You can't even be bored in doing this. The process of editing book, but you have like burnout, I guess, because if you keep staring all day on your screen, it's not really good to your eyes and to your brain, because sometimes I have like, you know, I edit like a page and then I can continue because I cannot read a single line because it's like my eyes too much and my brain's too much. So I have to stop what I'm doing and going for a walk outside or drinking like a cold drink or something like that to uh, to get my emotion back, to get relax my body. But it's never be a boredom. It's just because you continue doing your work when you have, when you finish your first editing, there will be continue. You have to continue to do the first editing of your second book target, and then while you're doing that, there will be coming a second editing that you assign to, or like suddenly you have to make a social media content when you are doing your first editing. So we're doing much things in a day, in a week, in a month. It never be a boredom. And then the next questions. Hello, Dian. How do you split your sense when you edit the manuscript? Do you have any tips? Sometimes it is so difficult to jump from one genre to another, or jump from one manuscript to another with different field. Um, I have to finish through the manuscript. The manuscript I edit, and then I move to the next one, because when you cut the process in the middle, like it's hard for you to continue and to have the sense again. So, but because what I'm doing mostly is a comic book, so it's not really hard to jump one to another. But when I get into different genre, for me it's like just finish just finish my manuscript first and then jump to another. It will help, because when you split your sense, it becomes not really good, because you cannot get back to your sense again. It's like hard to back into, to get the sense of the, for example, the romance from the into then to thriller. So I think you have to finish first and then continue to another manuscript. From Hadi Mubarak, how long do you usually spend time to edit one book? Actually, it's different. Each book is different. It depends on how thick it is, on how difficult it is. By means difficult, it's sometimes I'm dealing with a science book, so I have to check the term is right or not of the translations book, for example, or the words appropriate enough or the illustration appropriate enough. So how long do I usually spend time? Probably like 2 weeks of weekdays. Probably, actually that's the longest. But because we have targets, we have to shorten the time. Sometimes you have to do it in a week because there's another job waiting. From Cynthia Sitorus. Are you an introvert? Because mostly book editors I know is introvert. Yes, I am. I'm an introvert. But not all book editor is introvert, I guess. Because I have a friend that not introvert. From Ishraki Siregar. My question is how to create the audio promotion plan. Actually, I'm still learning this, the promotion plan. We're not doing this alone, actually. We have another department that, helping us in promotion. So we're just like doing the idea, because the editor knows the book. The salespersons or the marketing person do not know about the book. So we have to like introduce this book. How good is this book, and how well? So there could be a, we could make a promotion plan. For example, the writer of this book is a bestseller. For example, they have a loyal fans and blah blah blah. So the promotion plan will be, can we make a like pre-order or something? So the promotion plan will be long before the book is printed or published. So I think to create the ideal promotion plan is a book editor should know how well, how the book, what is the book is, or the what's good in the book. So the marketer or the we call it product specialist. So can relay, can do the promotion plan well. Either there's a product specialist, there's a marketing. So in Kompas Gramedia, the redactional not only doing this ourselves, but we are doing this with other department, the product specialist, and we can do the promotion ourselves. Many things happen during, the discussion of the promotional plan. Probably our idea declined by the product specialist, or we probably learn many things from the product specialist because they know how to sell the book. We don't. We only know how to edit the book. So I think it's a quite cooperation, a great cooperation to that. I have to answer your questions. And from Anindita Wulandari. Hi Dian, do you have some books that you think it's one of your masterpieces and you're really proud of it? Or any memorable books? Yeah, my masterpiece. As I said before, I edit. It's an educational comic called Keluarga Superirit, and I handle it from the first volume, and now already 35, and it's going on the in ongoing volume. So it's one of the bestseller in Gramedia, and it how the Keluarga Superirit is about how you save your money, and it's a great thing. From the novel one, I think it's the first novel I edit, because because it was my first time, so I make many mistakes during the process. I learned a lot and on how because that the manuscript, I need to make a lot of revisions of it. I have to argue with the author, and then going back and forth the manuscript. I revise, the author make the revision, and then I revised again, and finally published. I think it's like, oh my god, I did it. I think it's like, yeah, but it's many years ago. I think I forgot the title, but it's like a accomplishment, because it's really from the scratch. I have to you know, arguing with the author itself, like, from the editor point of view, but the author also have their own point of view, right? So, and how to resolve the problem. I think I learned a lot from my first novel I edit. Okay. Again, from Nadia Savila. Yeah, wish you can finish manuscript and publish it real soon. Thank you. From Adi Irawan, how many manuscript page will be right? From the manuscript, it depends on what kind of manuscript you want to write. I think for the novel, at least 100 pages of the, in the word, 100 pages, because when you less than 100 pages, it will, when the book will be really thick. But when you write like a 300 pages on words, right? It's manuscript on, still type on words. It will be really thick. So you have to, when you write a book, when you write a manuscript, you have to first what your market. For example, I want this book, the reader is like adult, for example, or young adult. I want to write a novel for a young adult. I want to write a novel for a young adult and a romance. So you have to see that the market, a young adult, a romance, a reader, can they read a really thick book? For example, like 400 pages. So I think 100 pages, not less. It's good, but it's different for a nonfictions, I guess. Nonfiction is different genre. When you're like having a manuscript of like textbook or something, I think it will be less than 100 or more than 300. So you have to know what would you want to write first. From Larasati, what are the challenges that you often encounter when editing a manuscript? The challenges? I have many. First, then, there are days that you are not really in a good shape, right? So, but then you have to face a deadline, and then you have to face another things. For example, your superior, tells you to make a report based on the data. So in a day, you have to finish an edit, and then blah 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 blah. But you're not in a good shape. So I think it's a challenge. Whether you're in a good condition or in a bad conditions, you have to be able to work, or you have to be able to, make them done. And also the challenges is, another challenge. Editing is science work, because when you're dealing with the English translations book, it's okay because we can read. But when dealing with the science books, but from Korean or Mandarin from China, it's really hard, to know whether this is the translation is good or not, because we need to compare, right? We need to compare whether the term is right in Indonesian or wrong. So it's sometimes to find a right term, or to find whether this term is good or not, it's right or not. Like we half a day we can like searching it and googling it from one website to another website, and then we can do that from half day. So it's like wasting a time. But we have a touch hill. So yeah, scientific book would be really a challenge. Thank you, Renat. And from Z. Thank you, Z.
Okay, and then Diki Chandra has raised hand.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, please speak, Diki.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's first. Editor reminds me of my previous work about 11, 12 years ago. I
Yeah.
was a journalist, and I had an editor who barely did her job. So yeah, I'm the one who must check it. If I am the one who must check the typo or choose the best wording, then I suggest her to resign, and I'll take her seat. But also, I have a question in my mind. All right, it's about news editorial. So we publish information to the public, and it could be sensitive. And yes, we need editor to do the job. But what about book editing? I mean, it's like covering someone else's song. Sometimes there are people who don't want his word to be replaced by someone else, or just like a song where people don't like the song to be changed, the rhythm to be changed. So my questions are: have you experienced a situation where the writers choose to keep their style instead of being edited? And is it okay to publish a book without going through editing process? It crossed in my mind that publishing a book. It crossed in my mind to publish a book. Maybe from the storyline, it will be unacceptable from our culture. I mean, if it is a movie, maybe one of the scene will show some rape scenes, vulgar but not porn. And I think if it is censored, then the message will not be delivered. If this kind of movie. So yeah, what is your opinion about someone else's choose to keep his word instead of being edited? And is it okay to publish a book without the editing process itself?
Okay. Actually, I haven't been encountered it yet, but a colleague of mine has. But first of all, when we are, doing editing or changing in the manuscript, we, we then, uh, uh, give it to the author. And when the author said, "No, I don't want to do this," blah blah blah. That's why I said we argue. So we we write things, or why we should keep this text, or we should remove this paragraph. So between the editor and the author should have like agree with this. But when one of them are not, I think it would be like there will be probably from the superintendent or the manager to resolve the situations, because when we're dealing with the things, for example, we encounter a what you said, a red scene that not a porn, but actually we should consider what we the place we're living in here, the reader itself. We also think how the reader would react if we publish this kind of things. There will be a pros or cons, but when we see there are cons countering this, we decided not to, because we see ourselves like we are this publisher that under the Compass Gramedia, so we should be really careful in choosing the manuscript. That's how we are really, really put into really selective. And when we, when we argue about things like this, and then the author wants this to keep this, I think And then our manager, our redactional team decided, okay, this is not good, to have kind of things. We can do the cancellations of the contract. So I think it's, the selections of the manuscript itself from the first time, the first liner, I think it's really, the reviewer has to have the good eye of a manuscript. That's why when the reviewer encountered this kind of manuscript, but when they thought this is good, we sometimes ask the author first before the contract, this only a review before the manuscript is accepted, or to ask, can you change the manuscript into this, for example? And the author said, okay, we can change, blah, blah, blah. And then we reviewed it again, and it's good, and then we publish it. But if the author said, no, we cannot do that, then okay, we reject the manuscript. So, anything else again?
Okay, so when there's an argument between you, the editor, and the writer about the book, it means that if the writers couldn't go with you, it means that you are sorry to say that the company should cancel the publish of his or her book.
Yeah, well, if the the things is really big things regarding
sensitive cases.
Yeah, sensitive cases. So actually, the cancellation itself is not the last. It is the last options if we not reach an agreement, because really a sensitive things, when a reader like complain things, not the author first that get complaints, but us, and or like the issues, the sensitive issues, there will be the first one to get sued is the publisher. Why you publish this kind of book? So yeah, I think so. The sensitive case, it's quite. It's not an only an editor should compromise. It's also we check with our superintendent and then our managers. So it's not from our side first, from the editor. It depends on the problem,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay, maybe one trivial question, because when you speak, when we speak about this sensitive cases, so what if someone else now here maybe in this group wants to publish a book about COVID-19, but they are most likely against what the WHO said? They will choose to follow another health organization. As we know that on social media, there's a video where the Doctors Union in Europe, gathering saying that COVID-19 is just a seasonal flu, because they're also doctors. So they they have some scientific fundamental. But from the other side, they're not following the WHO guidance, which is the official one. So what are you gonna do?
Actually, I would say that if you cannot publish it in the publisher and the Kompas Gramedia, you can, there are so many publishers that probably publish this kind of book. So the first you have to do is survey which publisher publish this kind of book. So when you write this COVID, this kind of pandemic that against our group, the WHO thinks, I think there will be a publisher, but I don't know under Kompas Gramedia will take it or not. But I believe other publisher will interest. They're like several publishers that likes to publish this kind of things, this kind of genre. You just have to survey.
Right.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you, Dian.
Yeah, you're welcome. But anyway, you can try. You can try. At least,
Well, I'm afraid that someone else will say another word like ED is the slave of WHO.
no.
I'm not the one who said that word, by the way.
Actually, when the manuscript, every kind of manuscript, you can send it to publishers, but you don't have to be afraid because I think I mentioned that our under Compass Gramedia has a platform. It's where you can send your manuscript to dps.gramedia.com. So you can choose 3 publishers under Compass Gramedia through this platform. So when the first publisher decline or reject, it will be going to the second. If the second publisher decline, and then going to the third. But if decline from the publisher under Compass Gramedia, there are still many publishers, I think, that probably interest to your manuscript. So don't be afraid, because I think when you send your manuscript, there will be 1 or 2 suggestions or advice from the reviewer, the editor. So probably you can take notes from that. So don't be afraid, just send it. So at least you can point, they can point what you lack or what you're good at least.
All right, thank you, Dian.
You're
Well, it's
welcome.
not afraid actually, but it's just testing the water sometimes could be, so huge.
Yeah, it's okay. There's a Santa, I guess, who likes this kind of things, that the uncommon genre. Yeah, you just surveyed how many publishers, and then which publishers. For example, the publisher A is publishing this kind of thing. Publisher B is publishing kind of thing. So you have to have kind of data first, so you can send to your manuscript to the right publisher.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Dian.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
welcome.
Okay, I will open for next 5 questions. But before that, let me ask a question. Okay. Maybe have you found a controversial book? Maybe Diki has asked before, but I want to more detail about it. Controversial book about maybe about pornographic or criticizing the government harshly or
I see.
roughly. And what is your SOP? If you found that book, what is your countermeasure to?
I see. Actually, because we are really selected from the first line, the acceptance of the manuscript, so we rarely encounter that. But when we encounter this kind of matters, I think the first point is, if it's not the whole manuscript, but probably that will be a part of it, right? For example, when we're in a Islamic manuscript, for example, so there will be we choose to the general one, the safest. Or I've encountered from foreign manuscript, I think the translated one, because that's the most problematic, I guess, to be published in Indonesia. For some books, we have to make it acceptable in here. So when I encounter, for example, there are Israel, for example. So they are in that manuscript from France or from Korean or from other countries. So they're freely saying that Israel is blah, 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 but not in here, right? It will be really sensitive, Israel and the Jews and etc. So our first, what we do first is we we asked to remove the content to the foreign publishers, and we explained that we can't publish this chapter, for example, because of blah, 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 blah. We explained. So, but mostly the foreign publisher accepted our decisions. So they said, okay, you can go without that chapter. Or the illustrations. Yeah, the illustrations like, you know, the two, what is, in the comic from Europe, for example, the dress will be, you know, really too sexy, for example. So sometimes he asked to cover, you know, the chest, or we have to the skirt, make it long skirt, but we still have to, you know, tell the foreign publishers for that. But no big issue in my company that I don't know in others. Probably have usually about the religion, but no, I haven't encountered things like that. You know, the big one yet. I hope I won't. So, is that okay?
Okay, it's clear enough. But so if I can summarize, make it acceptable and be more general, yeah, for the content of the book.
Yeah, as I said before, it depends on what, you know, the publisher you want to send your manuscript to.
Okay.
You can see it, you know, because they can declare it clearly. This is what we are looking for. This is kind of things that we publish, for example, like that. There's a what ciri khas. What is
Characteristic.
Yeah, there's characteristic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Dian.
Mm-hmm.
And then Z, want to ask something?
Yes, hello, Dian. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you
I see you too.
here.
Been years, Z.
Okay, I'm really curious. I have a question. Yeah, nice to
okay.
see you too. My curiosity was about, I'm a bit afraid in reading story books like a novel or comics or any kind of storybook, especially a non-fiction book. Because sometimes when we read one story, just like the previous, it just pop up on my mind. Probably there's a scene or probably there's a storyline in maybe in a certain sections in the book that make me feel uncomfortable, and it got stuck in your mind over and over and again for like several days. So I'm really curious how you get over of that kind of situations, because you are the editor. So basically you are editing not just one.
Yeah.
You are multitasking, doing the editing several books. It could be a story, it could be a comic, and there's a 1,000 of the story that you need to edit. So how you manage to get over from one storybook to another? Because when I just reading only one book, it got me stuck in my head. So I'm a bit like, okay, I don't think I'm ready to read another book, pretty much. So yeah.
Actually, for me, probably my mind doesn't work like that. So when I, some probably stuck in my head, but because I have many things to do, so like, and I have to admit that I have short-term memories again. So but when you like something, it's stuck in your head. But I think because I don't really think about it when I think about it, but I just stop thinking about it. Don't think it more than that of what you're thinking. Just move on and believe that you will, get another good book that can make you move on from that. So there's a lot of good book that can make you move on from your previously read book. So as for me, I don't have time, to stay on that one book. But I have to admit that when you're editing a book, it's not that it's stuck on your head, but because the process you have to deal with it again. Oh my God, I have added this, but I have to recheck again, and it's like this kind of thing, like 200 pages. So okay, again, but then when you still find it, oh, this part should be revised, and then get back to the book designer, then we have to recheck it again. So by that kind of process, it won't stuck in your mind long, because like, okay, I have this enough, for example. I think like that. But see, you can, if you're stuck with a novel, try another with the light one, comic book, for example. And when you're stuck in that, try another. So with a different, if you're stuck in romance, try thriller. Probably it will shift your attention or your mind. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dian. Okay,
Yeah.
glad that you're not having the same mind, yeah, like I do, yeah.
yeah. Well, I tend to, move on fast because that's what I do for these years. So yeah, usually I have when I like a novel or something, so it's like in my head, but not now because I read every day. Yeah, so it must have like going somewhere in my mind. Yeah. Okay. Another questions? Yeah, in a chat from Dicky. As a Muslim, I have to admit that book about Islam should be taken seriously, carefully, from the source, the character background, and ulama's fatwa. Yes, and that's why I'm afraid if I'm assigned a Islamic book, because I'm afraid that I would be, a word that can be a word can be mistaken, right? So I'm afraid that it could be a misleading or something, or it's a wrong hadith or something. So but sometimes from the non-fictions we do send the manuscript into an ustad, for example, because we have to really careful about that. So we send it to an ustad, and then for the content, for the whole content, to the Arabic, or the verse is right, the hadith is right, or something like that. Another questions?
Okay, Miss Z, do you want to ask again?
There's Aldi Irawan.
Aldi Irawan.
Yeah. Which software do you use during write a book? Microsoft Word or open source like OpenOffice? Actually, when you write a book, I think you could use a software that you're probably comfortable to. I'm mostly dealing with a Microsoft Word. Nowadays, the publishers received a soft file, so words. We probably reviewing manuscript mostly in words, Microsoft Words. So if you doing that in Microsoft Word, it will be good. But when you write it, literally write it, you can write it in anything. And then if you want to send it to the publisher, probably you have to convert it to Word. Yes. Any questions again? Oh, what else?
Any question again,
Yeah.
guys? Okay. If there is if there's no question, let me ask again.
Okay.
Okay. As I know, you were a committee too, called the Committee of Britzone, yeah.
I was.
Also in PIC division.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. In that division, so have you a conductor too, right? Have you been a conductor too?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Several times.
So when you were a conductor and you were in a PIC of Britzone, maybe you have to be cautious about the words that throw out from your mouth. Yeah, you have to mind the words, mind the topic that you want to share. Okay. Does it help a lot for your job right now as an editor?
Yeah, probably. Actually, what helps me much from Britzone is that my confidence to speak in front of people. Mostly editors, we are sitting in our desk. You know, we rarely converse, except when having a chit chat with our colleague. But when I come to Britzone, I learned how to socialize and how I learned how to communicate. Also, I learned a lot from how you guys deal with people or problems, because and I apply that to when I have problems. I have to solve problems in my job. I think it helps much. Yes. Nowadays, in editor is not only editing a book, as I said, but now you can see that they are starting doing a webinar, doing discussions with the reader, for example. So being in Britzone, it helps me much. I'm not really good at speaking in front of people. I wasn't, but the committee, they were helping me much, and they kept saying positive words. So yeah, I gained so much confidence, and we, we care each other. So yeah, it helped me. But in that kind of, not really in editing things, but in probably me, and to deal with this kind of situations, because I now meeting with foreign clients, foreign publishers, so at least it helps me how to speak in front of people. I have to speak in front of a foreign client. It helped me. The Britzone, it helps me with the English. Yeah, I think that's what Britzone have helped me.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, so to be the committee it will be very beneficial for your next steps. Yeah. Okay, that's so inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Dian. Okay, another opinion from Z.
There's from Z. I just when you open this and I was ashamed, but thank you. And from Karim, Haladian, is all the novelists must have an editor? I don't know what you mean by this, but a novelist, when you write a manuscript, when you write a novel, at least you should have a first reader first. But the first reader means that someone who already knows about book or are reading a lot, so they can pinpoint the the manuscript you write is good, well written or not. So the manuscript is good to be sent to the publishers. But every manuscript that's sent to the publishers, there will be an editor, the guidance, the novelist, to the for each steps to publish the book. And from Sari, what is the most favorite book to be edited? My favorite book to be edited is comic book. Because the comic book, they are illustrations, right? And then sometimes the jokes or the humor entertains me when I edit. So like sometimes I'm laughing while doing that. Oh my God, this is so great. Oh my God, this is so cute, like that. Yeah, I'm comfortable in editing comics. Yeah, comic, but mostly edit comic, not comic like manga. No, but like edit comic, the scientific one, or probably there's a Islamic comic. We have we publish that kind of book too, but not manga. Manga is my sister company published, not my publisher. Do anyone else? Yeah, I suggested when you write a manuscript, a novel, or something like that, send it to your, to someone who can read as your first reader. Because sometimes when I reviewed, and I contact them, oh, I already give it to the first reader, and they said okay. So, but my point of view, there's many lacking in the manuscript. So when you have your manuscript, I think you have to send your first reader. You have to choose your first reader as in the right person. Yeah, and don't be afraid of being a book editor. It's fun. Also, what else?
Okay.
Meet with a lot of people also.
Maybe for the host, Revina, have you found questions from YouTube channel?
Okay, wait. I'm just heading to YouTube, going to check it.
Okay. Yeah, no manga. It's a comic book. But I've edited a European comic book, so the joke is different.
No questions, Revina?
No.
No, there is no
Okay.
question on YouTube.
Okay. Any questions, guys? We have around 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sari, ask again.
Can I mention the comic such as Pengen Jadi Baik? Actually, I haven't read much lately. What comic is it? Yeah, Islamic comic, but not that kind of like Jenggoten. No, different. If you have a logo of Qibla, it's one like actually it's a children comic book, Islamic children comic book, like comic Sunnah Itu Mudah, or for example like that. It's for children. Yeah, like that. Oh, anything else again? What else? My experience.
Okay, from Karin.
Where do you learn a job from another country? Actually, because I read a lot before, you read Asterix and Obelix, you read what else? Oh, I forgot. Lucky Luke, for example. So their job, right? You have the sense of that. It will be different in the manga. It will be different in Korean, and different with ours. So I think you should read a lot to to be able to differentiate the joke. I learned from reading a lot. From Larasati, what are the aspects that must be taken into consideration by an author before submitting? The aspects, just the manuscript is well written. So, the first things that we really see in the manuscript, like it's well written. By meaning well written is like how well the sentence written, the choosing of the words. So when we're reading it, it's like we don't have to, like kemana, dimana, need space when you still put it without the space. So it's like, okay, and we can tell that the writers probably do not really know about how to write really well. For example, that simple things like that. Kemana, keluar, you have to differentiate keluar with space or without space. Yeah, we notice things like that because when we edit a manuscript like that, the simple things is like with the continuity, we have to dimana space, separate it, and then we find again in the next paragraph. Oh my God, dimana is still without the space. It likes annoying for us because our minds works like correction the mistyping. Oh, that should be here, that should be there. But when we receive a well-written manuscript, it's like, okay, this the writer can write well, and then we see the is the same, is really good. How is the story and blah blah blah. So the aspect that you have to must be taken into make it well written. And Karin, saw you do research by reading a lot. I like reading from from when I was a teenager. So it's been a long time, considering my age right now. Yeah, and I do a lot. The first I read is Conan, for example, and then started to Chinese. I forgot the title, and then Asterix Obelix, Lucky Luke, and then everything. I just read everything. So it helps me. It really helps me now to sense the joke from the different country. From Anindita, do you have any author that you want to work with, and what is your favorite book genre? Actually, I don't really have any specific author that I want to work with, but my favorite book genre is thriller or mystery or something like that, and I do enjoy reading Dan Brown. I collect all of his works. I have all of them, and I enjoy that kind of genre. I do not really into romance, no, or I don't know why, because when I read thriller mystery, it helps my brain to think how this story will end, how about this character and blah blah blah. But in romance, sometimes I can tell the story, how a story will go and how it will end. Sometimes I can guess that, so it's not really interesting again for me. Okay. From Renati, how do you handle stress at work other than drinking coffee? Me, I think sometimes I chit chat with my colleague, just away from the keyboard first, and then eating or doing stuff like I like, or sometimes YouTubing, just to relieve the stress. And when I prefer not to bring the work to home, so it will be too stressful if I carry my work to home. So I manage my time. I try to manage my time. So I hope that by time management, it will, me being able to handle my stress at work. Yeah, like that. Any questions again?
Any questions again, guys? Maybe from YouTube. Any question, Revina?
Okay, wait. No, there's still no,
Also no
any
question.
question.
It's okay.
Okay. Okay. I want to ask again. Have you edited the book of poem anthology, book of contains of poems? Yeah, buku puisi. Because one of my friends is also the author of that. Yeah, that book. He works also in a publisher under the Kompas Gramedia Group in Fantastic MC. Yeah. Yeah. You know it? The publisher?
It's a company.
Oh, here's the company. Yeah, the book is this. Maybe have you edited the book similar genre to this? This is the book
Me,
I Talk to the Water.
I haven't got a chance to edit kind of book because sometimes the editor being rolled into other teams, but I'm mostly working from children teams and into novel teams and into children teams and into comic teams, but I haven't been able to work in nonfiction. But probably next year I will handle also a nonfiction. But no, I haven't edited any anthology books. But it's hard, to edit that kind of books. You have to know the flow and the sense of poetic things, which I think I like that kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to be very artistic. Yeah.
Yes, you have to, as I mentioned before, you have to have sense and how to make a reader be able to read it in flow, because it's a poem. You have to make it really poetic, and if not, your reader will be complaining, right? Like that.
Oh, that's yeah. It's too hard. Yeah, but it's too hard because yeah, it needs to be very artistic. But have you tried before? Maybe outside your work?
Outside my work? No. No. Because I think it's it's something I want to do, but not in nowadays, because I think I want to focus on what I'm capable of right now, and I'm still lacking. I'm still making mistakes. So I think I want to, of course, pay attention to what on my hands now, because even if I tried, I don't think I will be able to handle it in short times, or to learn it in the short times, because the, I don't have any experience in that. So I have to admit that I'm afraid if I am being assigned to the kind of genre, for example, I will ask a lot to a friends of mine that usually handle kind of handle this manuscript. So it will be real stressful for me, because I don't know how it will become, how the book will be. I'm afraid of what the reader will react. I'm afraid of many things. So I don't know. I prefer edit things I'm good at.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's a big challenge for you right now, yeah. But hopefully you will master it.
I'm into that.
Okay, guys. I still open for one last question. Anybody want to ask?
Yes, you can ask
one last question.
anything.
No question. Okay, if there is no question, I will ask you to summarize about today's class, about today's topic. Anybody want to summarize, to sum up what the conductors thought?
Yes, please summarize. So you have now understand or know what a book editor does, not only dealing with the mistyping, but also everything.
Okay. Maybe, do you mind if I point you? Okay. Okay. I choose Sari Mulyani. Do you mind to summarize about today's topic? Sari? Yeah, just summarize in general.
Me.
Yeah, in general about book editor.
Oh my goodness. Actually, it's quite complicated for me to summarize it because of Kak Dian explained much, yeah. She explained very detailed, yeah. And then I just know about example, when I asked the question of mine, she just also added comic, and also the previous one, some of them, Kak Dian is an editor. She likes edit many kind of the books, and she loves reading. And then I just know that she also added the comic. I thought she just added or only a novel, and then another one here. Sometimes a bit stressed. And do you like drinking coffee much?
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Yes. Yes. Like every morning.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's all. And Kak Aziza wish that Kak Dian will be her editor. That's all. Because I got this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you for the summarize to summarize, Sari. And then before we dismiss this class, please take a photo session. Please turn on your camera. Okay, Ravina. Please turn on your camera, yeah. Show your pretty faces.
Okay. Okay, guys, so I will take screenshot. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you everyone
everyone.
Thank you.
for joining our class today. Okay, you can leave this room, but the conductor and committee stay.
Okay, thank you, Kak Dian. Amazing editor.
Okay, thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, you can DM me anyway.
Okay, maybe you can show your Instagram account.
Oh, there's in, I think it's already in the.
Okay, maybe I will share on the chat